Okay. Thank you for bearing with us this late in the afternoon. I thought most of you would be gone by now. We would have a much easier job, especially after Jesse showing all those cool animations. We're going to be talking, and this presentation, we had a lot of people help us put together this material, and besides the two of us. What we're going to talk about is the other end of the spectrum, where we are thinking about how this visualization technology, I first got involved in it in 2000 when it was just brand new, very few people knew what it was. And we tried to use it in the field, and we realized it was not ready for the prime time in the field environment. And then in around 2009 and 10, we got our second opportunity. We were not seeking it, we were asked to help out on these two large projects. These are multi-billion-dollar projects. And again, the problem was you're in the construction environment, some things are popping up left and right, information needs to be communicated to the public. Can you do it in the field environment quickly and cheaply? And that's the unique factor about it. The way I can summarize it is we're trying to commoditize this technology that has now come leaps and bounds since when I first started getting used to it. Throughout this thing, we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits and costs, but mostly the lessons learned. Now, here are the two projects. The LBJ is on the right side of the screen. It's a pretty large project, it's $2.6 billion. NTE is actually 4 projects. It's being delivered through augmented public-private partnership. The green portion is a traditional design build. The rest of that is a concession model with design build built in. LBJ is all concession. It was one of the first concession projects that TxDOT used after the legislature authorized that method of project delivery. So you can see we are covering pretty big range of the Dallas-Fort Worth region. Dallas is on the right side, Fort Worth is on the left side of the screen. LBJ is the second most congested roadway segment in Texas. Back in 1969, was designed for almost 180,000. They thought they would never be able to use, that capacity. I actually started when I first started working. The guy who was out there building that project was like his last year with DOT, and he was amazed at how quickly that area grew up. Today, there's over 270,000 that go through that corridor, and it's basically at peak capacity Monday through Saturday. The only time we actually see any dip in traffic is Sundays. Rest of the time, it's going to be at congestion level. The main part of this project is three managed lanes are being added in each direction, rebuilding the 4 general purpose lanes, and then provide a continuous frontage road system, which is pretty peculiar to Texas, as you all know it, if you've been to Texas. There's going to be some elevated managed lanes on I-35 to provide corridor-level connectivity. It's a 52-year concession model. Construction cost is $2.6 billion, and then there is a 52-year period for operation maintenance estimated at $500 million. The design-build contractor is Trinity Infrastructure. They started in 2011 and expect to finish by 2015. Project plans are being developed in a design-build environment concurrently with construction. Sometimes we feel like, plans come after the construction has been done, but that's just my feeling. The issue where we got involved is communicating that information to the public. This project, like I said, it's a public-private partnership, the very first. So the requirements that were put in the RFP were what they knew at that time were the best requirements. But then once the construction began, the developer started making requests of various kinds to close different things, modify, deviate, and sometimes TxDOT wanted to go along but need to communicate to the stakeholders what's happening. And they didn't feel that they had adequate support in communicating that. That's where we came around. I was approached by the DOT and was asked if we could create some magic overnight, literally. And that's when, Cameron got on board. So in a very short amount of time, we were able to create very simple, using 3D and 4D visualization technology, videos that we were able to share with the public and establish some buy-in on different issues that had popped up. The big difference is when I first did it in 2000, we used to do it on the campus with a computer farm and then have the CDs shipped to the project site, review, and that process was not conducive. in the construction environment, decisions are made last minute and you have to incorporate that. So I'm going to show you some of the screenshots and then Cameron's going to go into the details. Here's all the videos that were produced between September 10th and February 18th, and just screenshots. These are simple 3D animations to show how, you know, bridges were going to be demolished, what lanes were going to be closed, what ramps were going to be closed. And we produced the first video, work our butts off, and then last minute they decide, because of some structural details that somebody had not identified, they were not going to use this video because plans had to be redone. So that just is a classic example of what happens in the construction setting. And then starting with that, you just go through there, and there's about 12 or 13 such videos that we produced, and we then disseminated them to through various of these commercially available sources, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and you provide the hyperlink. Everything is on YouTube. You just disseminate it to the media and the public. And we found out actually that not only the public benefited from this thing, media people benefited, because sometimes before they go on air and they have to announce something, they literally have 10 minutes to absorb and internalize something and then communicate to the public. So what we found out is the stuff that we were producing from 3D and 4D was useful to the media people who were broadcasting it for the public. LBJ Express, the other benefit of this thing that we're finding out, which is really beneficial, is when you bring in stakeholders and you spread out all your 2D plans. All the plans are being done in 2D. Remember, this is the traditional method of delivery. There is no 3D plans being developed except for the initial animations that were developed. And I know Danny was asking that question. The developer did develop some 3D animations, cool animations to get the job, but after that, it's all back to the standard 2D plans, the paper plans and PDFs. So having said that, in the stakeholder meetings, one thing we found out is that you would explain all that to the stakeholders, and then then you would bring out these animations, and you realize half of them didn't get what you told them earlier. So then you're having to, re-explain everything to them. So the other part is not everybody on these projects is an engineer who's able to understand those 2D plans. So these 3D animations helped us tremendously, and Cameron was, the classic example I would give you is before we produced these animations, the meetings would last 2 hours or more than an hour. After we started using these animations, the meeting time shrunk to what, like 30 minutes or something? And everybody's on board, everybody understood what's happening, what that weekend's closure is going to look like. So that's the benefit. You establish buy-in quickly. People spend less time trying to understand the complexity of the engineering information and more time trying to come up with any alternatives or any other alternatives that they might want to suggest for their lane closure or signal timing improvement on cross streets and whatnot. And I didn't show any 3D animations because there's been plenty of 3D animations shown already. There's nothing unique in here, but Cameron's going to go into the 4D animations that we developed, and those were completely unexpected. We didn't expect any of those that we would be producing in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, so after doing the 3D visualizations, I think TxDOT, found that we were helpful to them. They could come to us, kind of in crisis mode, and we could deliver. So one of probably the biggest road crossing is Preston Road Bridge. It was going to be under construction for a year, and so they came to us and said, we need to communicate what's going on, very, very quickly. So when you're trying to produce things, within a week or 2 weeks, there's really, you got to get down to the nitty gritty. What is definitely needed? So I'll go ahead and start playing this animation. You can see, what the final product was, and I'll talk a little bit about it. So here we have, just, the basics, what it is, title slide. So we start out with the existing bridge, and then with terrain, they're going to be doing a large cut in the middle. So there it was like, it looks kind of interesting, but, can we live with it? Can we work with it? And then you start seeing the new bridge come up. Also, one thing that we thought was very important was to show the traffic. Like I said, you were taking and basically reducing, the traffic, in half. So then, it shifts over. Like I said, this is under construction for a year. They really didn't, give us a lot of time for this, so it's really about what all is needed. So here we have, basically like 4 different models, the existing conditions, and then, where half the new bridge, is being built, and they have the old half, then, you switch everybody over to the new half, and then, you finally finish it up. One thing in the background, there is the construction schedule running, but the contractor felt a little bit more safe, just, kind of giving, little milestones, when the capacity will be restored. So like I said, fast, 1, 2, 3 weeks is, what's absolutely necessary to communicate to the public. The next project is in a similar area, and this is the White Rock Creek Trail. And the White Rock Creek Trail runs underneath the highway, and there's a pretty active hike and bike community around here. And the trail had been closed for approximately a year, and they were getting kind of anxious. What's going on? They don't see much, construction going on in the area. So what we did is actually I think they came to us on a Monday and said, can you help us with this? We had a basic 4D model of the area, but we had to add in the terrain because obviously having the creek was very important to them as a visualization point of reference, and then obviously we needed the creek as well. So I'll go ahead and play this animation, and you can see there's an area in here where's the little thing? There's a time frame in here where the part of the bridges are just added on in the middle here in the general purpose lanes. And then there's a bypass lane that comes under construction here. And whenever the pedestrian and bike community was, looking, when is this open, this part of the bridge was completed. So to them it looked like, hey, construction is done, let's get back to riding, on our path. And so, but they didn't see that there was a whole other bridge that had to be constructed. And so I think it really showed them why they needed to be kept away from the area for their safety. So I think we, very quickly did a few add-ons, updated the schedule real quick, and then maybe, delivered it within 1 or 2 weeks. Put it on YouTube, and I think, I think this video probably had close to 1,000 hits. Yeah. This is Navisworks. This is Navisworks. So.
And remember, this is all linked to the contractor's schedule, and it's a massive schedule. It's a humongous schedule. So, and they just didn't feel comfortable letting us display all the dates. So we had to work with them and ensure their trust also.
Was it difficult to aggregate their schedule into this abstract level detail?
Yes, their schedule came in, their design build, so they came in with 19,000 activities. So it's kind of an art and a science to filter out what's needed. That's part of it as well. Real quick, the NTE project, segments 1 and 2, traditional PPP, it's a concession model, same, everything basically similar to LBJ, it's the same company. They have different names. Construction's $2.05 billion. That's what's, still going on. 13.5 miles, 2 managed lanes in the middle, 3 rebuilt general purpose lanes. The interesting part is segments 3A and 3B. Rather than doing a traditional PPP where the DOT would, and the private sector would bring their funds together, what it is that TxDOT said, why don't we go ahead and build part of the project for you? So TxDOT's funding 3B, and with their own money, it's a traditional design bid build project, and then NTE 3A is done completely with the developers funds. And so there's all the information for them. And this, like I said, this connects onto the other phases as well. And here we've been working with TxDOT on the 3B segment, and like I said, there's no real public outreach there. It's a traditional design bid build. So we did a 3D kind of drive-through model for them for a public open house. And so this is, done for the traditional, thing, showing the complexity, just informing them what the project's going to look like when it's completed. So one of the interesting things is when, it's great to have that context, and, like Jesse was saying, they started on their context very, very early, and in the construction phase, sometimes you don't know what's coming. And so, here we have to use a little bit more, annotations with text to kind of give people the context of what's going on. So there was kind of the spaghettiness, exit, entrance.
Was there an option to use any ortho imagery along with the 3D terrain?
We're still currently working on this project, and we're doing updates, as we get more information on that. And so, yeah, there is. Also, what's kind of interesting is that part of this project is kind of out in the open. So, some of it, the ortho imagery is very important, but like I said, we have to kind of choose what's important and what's not important, when things are going on.
Yeah, and this was produced back for an open house at that time. They said, this open house is around the corner, just put something together so we can have all 4 segments of NTE reported shown. Yes, sir.
How long is the segment that you're working on?
This segment is approximately 3.6 miles.
Can you say how much time it took to chop up the civil and link it to the Navisworks schedule, the schedule of Navisworks?
This project or the LBJ project?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was your project. Yeah, the other project then.
It's usually just me. I have one intern. So chopping it up and attaching it is, like I said, we really choose what's important. So it's kind of different. We really work with TxDOT to see what they want. But I would say that, you have to filter all the activities out. So, that's maybe 1-2 days, or and then you attach everything. And the software is very, very helpful. So. It just depends on, it's kind of hard to say how long, maybe
For that project?
for the LBJ project. Once we had the 3D model built, got the schedule, I would say 2 weeks.
Was it based off the actual engineering data, or was it eyeball?
No, engineering data. So we take the 2D plans, electronic files.
In the animated bridge, a very distinct vertical point of intersect and non-vertical curve. As it had been done off the engineering data, those profiles out of geopack look reflected the vertical curve of the bridge. So that's I think it was kind of eyeball.
I think the existing was kind of eyeballed. But no, I mean, the other parts are, it might have been the camera angle, stuff like that, but no, we take the,
It's precise engineering. We're not eyeballing it. We're not doing it for marketing, but it might have been in the rendering, and we're losing some quality in the rendering. That's what we have to upload it on YouTube and all that.
I'm misunderstood. Do you build the model from paper plats or from
we build it from as much electronic data as we can get, which is usually 2D microstation, PDF plans, sketches, here's what it's going to look like, guys. It's
a very fast-moving environment, and like I say, it just depends on what becomes available at that time. See, all those 3D animations, they had to be, it's all or nothing. They had to be released on Wednesday. That's when the media release has to go out. Thursday, they are broadcast on the local media, and the lane closure begins Friday, like 9 p.m. So, and sometimes the plans are coming in, or the final decision on the taper lengths and all that's being made on Monday. So you can get as much ready as you can, and that's why, like I said, this is a very different environment. You're just trying to accommodate TechStart and you're trying to, work with what you have. Are we done? Behind? Okay. Well, I've covered most of the lessons learned, but what we're learning is that you can take this technology, use it. You just have to dumb it down sometimes, not put all the details that you would ideally like to. But it can be used, and it can help you establish the
We
buy-in
have
with it.
one more way in the back, yeah.
I was curious about the native delivery data. Is it P6 that they're delivering to you?
It's P6 or P7, whatever it is right now.
And then you were exporting to XML the tests you wanted?
No, you can bring in P6 through the SDK or the API in Navisworks. You just have to filter it out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir, please